Mark, or
Yeah, I'll be
okay,
glad
Andrew?
to. I'll step up.
Okay.
So, I've lived here my entire life, and I've seen this road change from time to time, and I've driven that road as uh, just as a citizen, and then now through with EMS, and then now managing the guys driving up and down it. And apparent, I mean, we've had issues with this road all along. Um, I can remember when it was just basically 2 lane, but then they widened the road, um, and like you said, there's no turn lane. Uh, we've always had a lot of incidents at uh, Washington Street and 15th. There was a lot when you've got Tractor Supply, and you've got a dollar store over there, and you've got a fitness center, and there's a that little area right there, the lights. Oh, we've blamed it on everything. The reason why we've had accidents around there is because, oh, at one time they said that the light changed too fast, or the light was too slow, or but we've always had a lot of wrecks at Washington and 15th. I mean, it's almost like every day you get a call somewhere in that area. Um, at one time we had a mall, and of course now it's more like a strip center, but we still have a lot of traffic that not like it used to be, but we still have some in there. So, and at Minuteman Lane, a lot of traffic heads down Minuteman Lane because well, the National Guard Armory's down there. We have a lot of, we've got a lot of housing down there that is, the population is older. We have a lot of EMS traffic that heads down there. And then just a little bit further up, you're dealing with all of the restaurants and things like that. And you got a couple of very big automotive dealerships and parts stores that people like to go in and out of. And we've seen it happen over and over and over. People, they get real frustrated. Not so much when you're making a right turn into to one of the lots, but anytime that you have to make a left, you completely stop all the traffic in that lane, and it's like any other town, and maybe not quite as bad as Raleigh or someplace like that. People don't like to stop. They want to keep going all the time. They want that traffic move, move, move. Um, but you end up having people running into folks because they get aggravated because they can't see ahead to see why people are turning in, why is somebody making a left. And EMS, we deal with the same thing that all of the public deals with, is when we're trying to get through. That's there's only 2 roads that we use most of the time to go to the hospital, and it's either that one or 264 Fifth Street. This is by far the one we use the most. And man, when we come through there, we really disrupt traffic because we're trying to get to the hospital, and that really disrupts things. So we've been dealing with this for a long time, and I remember when they were talking before about some of the things that they were proposing, and it's not any different than things that I see in bigger cities. That's just the way it is. You look at traffic, and then and I know everybody wants to be able to get where they want to go as fast as they can get there, but sometimes you have to make it so that, like in this case, maybe people shouldn't be able to try to make left hands. You may have to think ahead. And in the emergency, as far as we're concerned, however we set this street up, we're going to go and we're going to have plans set in place so that if we know that we're going to be traveling, or if we have to travel east on that road, we're going to have an action plan set up. And if we travel west, we're going to have an action plan. And we already do that. We actually split the city at Washington Street for the 2 stations. And we think we can go ahead and make plans way ahead of time. So if we know that we're taking a fire truck or two west, we already know the best ways for us to get there, the best roads to turn it off and on to get to there. And so it's a little different for us. We can kind of make it and manage it by preparing for it. Does that help?
Oh, absolutely. And you're right. And I like what you first said earlier too. People get frustrated, right? And no, this is an anomaly, Mark. I will have to say this. There's not too many 4-lane roads. There's one in the city of Raleigh, Wade Avenue. And when a car wants to take a left, it is like you take your life in your hands, because the topography, I don't know if you've driven here that much, topography is so hilly and so like when a car is on the bottom of the hill trying to take a left-hand turn into a driveway or into a side street, and it's only 4 lanes, they're so worried, they're so scared of getting rear-ended in that setting. And people do get frustrated. And I agree, you know, do we restrict left turns? Maybe, but that's a very good point. But you said something earlier that really triggers and makes a lot of comments. People just want to move, right? They just want to keep moving. I don't care if it's a slower space, but they just want to keep on moving and not have to stop for another left turning vehicle. But that's some cool insight. I totally agree with that. But your scenario here, that 4-lane without a flip-flop lane, without a middle turn lane, is very unique. DOT does not build those things from scratch. In other words, they won't build a new road with just 4 lanes. It's extremely dangerous what's out there. And that's because there's no safe haven. There's no middle lane or median in there. Those are great perspectives.
Mike, real quick, I'm really sorry to interrupt. We have someone trying to call in.
Right.
Chief Draper. Is there a call-in number I can text him?
Yeah, so Dan, I wanted you to kind of help Aaron with that one. If you don't mind, go ahead and continue that conversation. There is a telephone number. We can get that. Let's get the chief on here, but let's turn this over to Amber.
I have also lived here all my life, and I've been here with the fire department for right at 20 years. I also started out as a firefighter EMT, so I have done a lot of the same things that the fire chief has done. I drive 15th Street as a regular person, but I have done it as a firefighter EMT. And I was joking earlier in a sense of having a big truck. I do have a 3500 truck that I drive, but I have driven the fire trucks down that area also. The lanes, yes, are an issue. Matter of fact, I did have one of the shift commanders that I spoke to was discussing the fact that our fire apparatus, there's a 96-inch cab on our fire apparatus. So he was concerned with the fact that the lanes would be narrower. He said he needed a 9-foot lane for his fire truck. But I'm kind of getting off the point. When I was a firefighter EMT, yes, left-hand turns are god awful on in that area. And when we used to have wrecks out there, when I was riding, I know they're the same or even worse these days. The traffic, not only speeding through there, trying to get them to slow down for us, our safety standing in the road, blocking off traffic, especially in areas like 15th and Holloman and 15th and Bridge. I used to take my son to school, pre-K, down on Bridge Street, right there at the corner of, practically the corner of 15th and Bridge, and it's a heck of a left turn. So yes, left turns are definitely a problem. I also had a shift commander state that apparatus turnaround areas, we need to make sure that there's plenty of room to be able to get our apparatus turned around. Obviously, we're not going to turn it around in the street, but he was concerned with with apparatus turnarounds with the big trucks. I don't know. I am totally understanding with the people that don't want to widen the area, and I totally understand the people who want to leave it as it is. But in the end, and this is just me speaking. I know there's 100 million different people with different attitudes, but safety to me is the biggest thing. Not only our firefighter safety, but yes, the people who want to walk or bike. There is no room for somebody to walk or bike out there, and yeah, we definitely need to make sure there's room for them too. Did I make any sense at all?
Amber, we were both typing in your quote about safety being the biggest concern. So yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is it. It just reiterates some of the frustration. So I love it. My commitment to you, Amber, is we're gonna make it more than 9 feet for you. You got a big truck. I gotta respect that. Big, lots of horsepower. You got a Hemi under there. We're gonna give you at least 11-foot lanes on there. And if that's my commitment, that's Jonathan's commitment too. How's that? He doesn't even know how to put words in his mouth.
That was one of the concerns that our shift commanders brought up. So, that is not necessarily just me talking. I told them before this meeting, I said, if you have any problems or issues you would like for me to bring up, please let me know. And that was one of the things that he let me know. So I promised him I would tell you.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Good. And Dan, I'm not quite sure. Every time I zoom in, this happened before. Can you put a block down there? Because every time I zoom in, it won't let me go. And go ahead and fix that if you don't mind. All right. So this is great. And we're memorializing this. We're not going to pick on you here, but we're memorializing what you're telling us too. So part of that, what other things do you see, and this goes beyond what you do for professional living, but what other things do you see? Someone mentioned drainage, someone mentioned flooding and stuff. Is that an issue along this corridor? And if so, where?
I can tell you it all depends on what we're dealing with at the time. If we're dealing with real heavy rains, most of the problems that we had, and they've been working on them, were down at the Brown Street area, at the area closest to the hospital. They've been working on that steadily though. During hurricane season, when we have a lot of water coming in here from the river, I have seen 15th Street become impassable all the way up. I've actually seen waves at Minuteman Lane and 15th. So I've seen water coming across there. One reason for that was because we had water coming in from the river. We had slow drainage at the time because we had the water trying to recede and go back. That's probably the furthest spot that we've got from the river. And then we have all the water coming off of the airport runways coming in from a different direction. That usually is the last road to flood for us. And by the time it gets to where it's flooding, we're usually in a big mess, and we're having to pull out some big trucks, usually some Army vehicles, that type thing, to get to the hospital. So it's not an everyday thing, but it can be a mess when it does start.
Right. Gotcha. Thanks, Mark. Hey, so look who's joined us. Chief Drakeford, would you like to introduce yourself, take yourself off of mute? But thanks for joining us.
Yes, I apologize for that. I'm having trouble with my phone.
That's all right. Hey, we're going to put you on the spot a little bit. We're deep into the discussion here, but tell us your perspective of how, and Chief, that's the police side. Is that right, Aaron? Police, okay. Give us your perspective of some of the issues that you see along 15th Street. And just to refresh your memory, we're going from Carolina Avenue all the way over to Brown Street. So really from the hospital all the way down to the auto dealership and, US 17 business, Carolina Avenue. So what sort of things do you guys see and experience in terms of safety, crashes, congestion, anything that you can share with us? That would be great.
I think for on the police side, it's more of trying to slow that speed down out there on that road. And the crashes that we have are more inattentive type crashes, or people trying to beat a red light either at 15th and Market or right there in that area. And I heard Mark already talk about the flooding issues that we have on that road.
Correct. So, and interesting, do you have any speed, like measurement speed information you can share with us? We've heard that, but it's hard for us to validate the speeding issue. But how often do you experience that? And why is that? Is it because it's flat and straight and wide?
Yeah, because people are coming from the western side of the city and using that as a cut through to get on the other side without going down 5th Street.
Ah.
So
Gotcha.
when you try to make 5th Street narrow, that pushed a lot of traffic over there on Carolina Avenue.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. All right, gotcha. And so you probably weren't on when we mentioned that we actually looked at the crash statistics that was then reported by police and then I guess measured by Department of Transportation, but it's actually 140% the state average crash rate for a similar road. So it's much greater crashes on 15th Street than what we're typically seeing. Is that something that you guys are experiencing?
Yeah.
And so what sort of crash types do you see most often?
Rear ends or somebody trying to beat the red light. That's what we experience. And that's usually at your major intersection where those occur on that roadway. Hello?
And so, no, I see that. And so Mark and Amber, are you seeing the same thing? Are your folks seeing and experience the same thing in terms of crashes and crash type?
Yes, and he's absolutely right. A lot of, and like I said, they get a little aggravated because traffic's not moving and those lights start to go yellow and then red, and then they're still, they're hell bent on making that left turn, and that's when a lot of that stuff happens, especially at Washington and 15.
And there's also a bank now on the corner at 15th and Washington. So you've also got people coming out of that bank that are trying to get onto 15th Street or making, going across the street or what have you. So there's also a little extra congestion there in the last year or couple years since that changed into a bank from I think it was a doctor's office.
Gotcha. That is interesting. One of the things that we see along the corridor is the lack of connectivity, meaning not just 15th Street, but what's happening beyond 15th. On the south side, it feels like there's a really good grid network. So emergency fire and rescue, police, you can get from A to B on the south side pretty easy, but on the north side, you've got a lot of dead end roads and dead end commercial development. Everything needs to dump onto 15th Street to go from A to B. Is there an issue up there on the north side, or their desire for better connectivity even beyond, 15th Street? Or has that become an issue to getting to emergencies?
On the police side, that's not an issue.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think one thing is that if you look beyond, I mean, you go to 15th Street and then you've got, maybe 2 or 3 blocks. And then if you could see through the trees, all that area back there is the airport. So there's really not a lot that you could do with that. It's the neighborhood, then a group of trees, and then boom, you're right there on the airport runway.
That's funny. Yeah, it just seems like on the north side, there's just a lot of dead end streets up there. And by the way, you still have some developable land, especially on the north side near the Tractor Supply and near the Mexican restaurant. What is that? Washington, help me out. The shopping center, Washington.
Right, well, they were gonna go in and put another, set of apartments in there behind, right there where Fitness Unlimited and all that is, Tractor Supply. That's gonna be just an extension of Alderbrook.
Yeah, that's true. So for those of you on the phone, we obviously got, trying to show at least, let me move this up. There you go. We're just showing an aerial photography of this area, but you're right. I mean, it's all disconnected up here. There's apartments right there, there's a Tractor Supply, all that drains on there. Even this, I laugh at this a little bit because new development, this is obviously new development. And, I'm gonna say shame on Jonathan and the city planners here, because you got a stub out here and it's not connected. You got a stub out here and it's not connected. And yet all of this, and eventually all this is going to develop. And basically every vehicle that comes out of this development, and even this, is going to have to get onto 15th Street to go anywhere. And so if you look at look at this, cul-de-sac, 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 even this is a cul-de-sac. And there's the airport up there. Everything on the north side has to get onto 15th Street to go anywhere, live, work, or play. So that, I think, is some of the things we need to think beyond just 15th Street about connectivity and how we can improve connectivity so not every vehicle, depending on what you're doing, has to get on there. Because more development's coming. We just got to close our eyes. Awesome.
Yeah, Mark,
Yeah, go ahead.
and I understand what you're saying about more development coming, but specifically right there where that, just so you have a mindset, right there where that Tractor Supply is located, that's one of the areas that floods so bad that you really can't get out your car to go down that road. So
Right there.
coming off that airport property.
Yeah. Yeah, and down Minuteman Lane, I mean, sometimes it's to where we can't even get a fire truck down there. And we're pulling people out of them houses when the hurricanes come because they're flooding there. We've done that several times.
Gotcha. So we're gonna mark that down. I got it here, Dan, if you don't mind. So flooding at Tractor Supply. Yeah, and so we may have to look at, and this is for Aaron and Rikia and Jonathan, really, is there opportunity to integrate, stormwater BMPs to drain that water out of there quicker? It's flat, right? Who's kidding who? So when it rains, it's got to go somewhere. And if it's just concrete and asphalt, it's going to puddle. So this would be really good to know. And I wasn't quite sure if DOT's plans incorporated something like that. Do you remember, Jonathan?
I don't know that they were addressing those issues fully. I don't believe so.
Okay, well, that's something certainly we'll be happy to take a look at. All right, anything else? We've got a lot of information here that you guys have shared, but anything else that you guys want to share regarding problem areas, issues, and needs as we move along here? Hey, I'm going to throw something out at you. And it's really just an idea that popped into here. I'm talking about circulation, about moving folks and getting them ingress egress. We're actually looking at the intersection of Brown Street here, and it's really the beginning of our intersection. It's a bad skew, bad curve there, but let me get the aerial photography here. And I just want to get your ideas and, pass the litmus test here, but you got the Biden hospital there, but you also have a horrific intersection with a 5-legged and bad skews and horrible sight triangles. We could do a number of things. We could put, lipstick on this thing and put in crosswalks, but I think it's going to be very difficult for folks to walk and ride a bike around this area. But one of the things that we would like to suggest is really even potentially putting in a roundabout. If we're looking at repurposing the asphalt here and tying these intersections together a little bit more consistently, doing something like this. Oops. Let me see if I have it on here. Oh, I don't. But just to see what that would look like. In order to allow folks to circulate better, we would have a truck taper in there. It would accommodate the largest fire truck you have, absolutely. And it would also accommodate a tractor trailer, WB50, to have the ability to move around and take left turns. But that is a really bad intersection there in terms of skews and laneage and curve. You're right at the crest of a curve, and I know there's people speeding through there. So any problems with this intersection here that you guys see? And again, for Chief Drakeford, it's the intersection of Brown Street, 12th Street, and 15th Street there.
Yes, you have just labeled them all. That is one of the bad intersections. Once again, with people trying to beat that light based on how that intersection is configured. And I think Mark told you that also that's one of those areas that floods as well in that area because the way I think it's designed.
Gotcha. Anything to add, Amber, Mark?
No, the director and us, we all work together, so we're all having the same problems. I wanted to bring up one thing, the map that you had that shows the, looks like a satellite map. Can you bring it up? The one
Yep.
that shows the hospital.
Yep. Let me get that. I was writing your comments here. So let me go ahead and do that. How about that? There you go.
Okay. Keep banging it out. So further and further. There at one time, when do you see Highland? You see where Highland Drive comes up beside the hospital, and you see Yeah, right there where, can you see where Avon Avenue is? Keep going with your, right there, see Avon? Okay, well, see that goes all the way out from, right there, it goes all the way out to Highway, that goes all the way out to 264.
Mhm.
Okay. At one time, somebody had said that they thought that they would like to extend somewhere with Avon Avenue and run Avon Avenue right on west through and just let it cut right on through, go all the way to Market Street, and then possibly try to figure out how to run it through the back of that some of those neighborhoods and get all the way back out to 17. And that, it possibly could give us a little break, not with heavy traffic, but with localized traffic that can move them from one side of town to the other through some of that area in there. Because there's roads that could be interconnected. There's some small neighborhoods in there where the roads have just stopped. And people had looked at that before to see, there's one, see Crown Drive, right at almost at the top of the map right now. Crown Drive is one of those that just goes in and stops, but could easily be cut through all the way to Highland and almost intersect with Avon, so that they could get traffic rolling through there. The only problem is you got to figure out who owns all that property in there.
That's good. So Dan, can you mark that on the comment sheet? But yeah, Mark, that absolutely. And that's connectivity. And maybe that's memorialized, Jonathan, in your local transportation plan or through the RPO, but that's a good future connection there. And honestly, look at all the land it opens. I hate to say that, but the reality is a lot of that, Mark, can be built by the development community because they're going to have to build 2-lane roads anyway. Have them make that. You can memorialize that on your plans and absolutely the cross access, and it would be all local traffic, absolutely local traffic. But you're right. Everything that you see on the north side here on 15th is dumping into 15th. And there's no relief there in sight, especially between Market and Carolina Avenue. There's none of these roads here are all landlocked. There's no interconnectivity. But I like that. And that's something that it may not be along our corridor, but we can certainly recommend that, Dan. I think that's a great idea in our reporting of this. That's something outside, future studies, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys want to discuss? I hate to say it. This is quick and dirty, but this is really the purpose and intent of these focus group discussions. We're focused on emergency services. And so we've got another one coming up in 5 minutes, but anything else you want to share with us? And if not, join us at the pinup sessions at 5 o'clock or throughout the day, or throughout the next 3 days. In fact, share your thoughts. We appreciate it. We really value your opinion. So anything you want to share before we let you go? Awesome. All right. Chief Drakeford, we appreciate your time here too. And we appreciate you have the ability to squeeze us in. But certainly let's keep the dialogue going. I think this is going to be great. Jonathan, I'll leave it up to you to kind of close the meeting.
Yeah, just thank everybody for participating. I think, we gathered a lot of beneficial information and look forward to the finished product on Thursday. So again, this was the first session and I think we had a lot of great dialogue. So I think, thank you for your time.
Awesome. Everybody have a great day and we'll see you later on.